Hello, good morning, guys. How are you all? Hope you all are doing well. Did you all happen to see my video presentation that I had done yesterday? You are always free to call me if you have got any doubt. Today we will be moving on to the fourth module. We are doing a small part from the fourth module, that is, what is interview, what are the different types of interview, how well can you succeed in an interview, and also I would like to mention a little bit about online or the Skype interview. Okay, now let us start from the beginning. Okay, all attention? Yes. So now let us see what is an interview. An interview it's a formal meeting that is conducted to assess the ability of the candidate for the particular job. Okay, now there are different types of interview. You didn't know about that, right? Okay, there are 6 type of interviews. Okay, now the first interview type of interview is preliminary interview. Now this is the initial screening stage before a detailed interview. Now in this process, in this type of interview, initial screening is done so that unsuitable candidates are left out. Now this saves a lot of time for the company. Now the next type of interview is a standardized interview. Now in this interview, a pattern or a pattern of questions is prepared in advance and given to the candidates, and sufficient time is given to them to prepare, and then they attend the interview. Now, next interview type of interview, the third one is the depth interview. Now, this depth interview is an interview which is done to assess in detail about the candidate. Different types of questions are asked to him regarding his background, regarding his education, regarding his knowledge, his family, his excellence and co-curricular activities, everything. It's a detailed interview. Okay. Next is the fourth type of interview is a stress interview. Now, in this type of interview, the candidate is assessed how he reacts in a stressful situation or under pressure. The company wants to see how does the candidate respond in times of stress, whether he responds with patience, whether he is calm, or whether he is stressed, or whether he is frustrated, or whether he is angry or impatient. Okay, now that is the fourth type of interview. Now the fifth type of the interview is the HR of the personal interview. Okay, in this type of interview, the behavioral aspects and the attitude of the candidate is judged. So in this, they judge more the emotional intelligence or the EQ of the candidate rather than the technical knowledge. Okay, now in this type of a interview, the emotional, let me explain before what is emotional intelligence. Now emotional intelligence is something that is how well you understand, you're aware of, you can control and express your emotions in the most appropriate manner. Not only that, your own emotions, but you're also aware of and understand the emotion of the others around you. Now this, if you're having a high emotional intelligence, that means you're having a very good interpersonal relationships, and you're going to succeed. You're able to adjust in any situation, and you'll also be you'll be also having good interpersonal relationship. And in some jobs, they need this EQ level, they need really the EQ level high rather than the what do you say, technical knowledge. Okay, there is a very good book on emotional intelligence by Daniel Goleman. Okay, try to read it. Now you're at home, so maybe you all can just get the book and read it. It is a really good book. How to develop your emotional intelligence. Okay, now the next type of interview is technical interview. Now technical interview. Now this type of interview is it's done to assess the knowledge, technical knowledge of the candidate. That is whatever he has studied and all. They will be just asking questions regarding it. Okay, now these are the different types of interviews. Now I've spoken of 6 type of interviews. I'll just recap it. First is a preliminary interview. Next is a standardized interview. The third is the stress interview. The fourth is the depth interview. The fifth is a technical interview. And last, sixth interview is the HR of the personal interview. Now, next we are going on to how to succeed in interview. Now, one thing you should remember, that even if you're having an excellent academic score, you were the all-rounder in college, or you excelled in extracurricular activities, in the sports, everything, you will be having all the certificates. But mind you, when you go for an interview, there will be some hundred or 100 odd candidates just like you, maybe having the same qualifications. Now you have to stand out among all these 100 or among all these 60 others. So now what you got to do is that you have to, you have to impress the interview board that you are really a fit for the job, and you will they will not be having any sort of comms of appointing you in that particular position. Now for this, for being successful in interview, there are certain points to be taken care of. Okay, now let me just talk about these points. Now first of all is the preparation that goes into before you go for an interview. Okay, the preparation starts much earlier. Now you have applied for a job, you maybe probably saw the ad maybe in online, or maybe in the newspaper or whatever it is, and you apply for the job and you get a call, you get a letter asking you to come for an interview on so and so date. Now what you do is that when you get the call, when you get the letter asking you to come for an interview, what you've got to do is that you have to start preparing. That means you have to find out about the company. Okay, what are the interests of the company, what are the at present, what is the position of the company, what is the history of the company, who are the management members, and you need to dig up everything about the company, so that you're able to answer any question related to the company if you're asked. Okay, now the most of the question, what I have found is that mostly they ask what is it that made you apply for the job. So you have to be prepared for that particular question also. Okay, so and then what you do, okay, you collect all the document, or you collect all the information in advance. That is first step. Next step is conduct mock interviews. Now mock interviews is that you can conduct in front of your friends, your maybe your family members. You have to conduct you go in for this mock interview, so you boost up your confidence level, how you're going to answer the question, how you're going to sit in the chair, how you're going to answer, you're looking in the eye of the interviewer, your body language. Okay, all that you can take care of when you do a mock interview. Next thing what you can do is that next you have to prepare your CV very well. CV is a curriculum vitae. In the next class I'll be talking to you about the how to prepare a good CV. Okay, so you have to prepare your CV well in advance, and it should be very attractive. Now another thing is that when you go for the interview, usually you see these candidates carrying a file in their hand. So this file contains all your documents. Now now in the market you get a lot of different types of files. You can select a file in which there are different plastic containers, in which you can neatly keep all your certificates in each separate folder, so that when they ask you for the certificate, you don't jumble over there, you don't mix up the entire thing, and if they ask you for a plus 2 certificate, you happen to give your BTech certificate. No, you should be well organized at that time. So before that, you have to organize all your documents in a very orderly manner. Okay, so keep your file ready before the interview. Okay, now next is regarding your dress is very important. They always say first appearance is always the best, it makes the best impression. So your dress should be very formal. It should be what you say it should be we should be very neatly dressed, especially the boys. They should be in full sleeve shirt, pants, socks, shoes, hair well trimmed. If you have got a beard, it should be well trimmed, it should be very neat. You should not wear any flashy bracelet or anything. And regarding the girls or the women, they should be wearing maybe a salwar they can wear, or they could wear a cotton sari, or maybe a silk sari, and their hair should be neatly combed, and they should not be using flashy jewelry. Keep the minimal jewelry. And another thing what you have to remember is that don't use very pungent perfumes. Okay, and we keep those perfumes or deos and all at the minimal level. Yeah, so you have to decide on all these things before you go for an interview. Okay, now next is this is the preparation part. Now that is the first step, that we have covered everything. Now the second step is performing. Okay, the real part of it. Now performing is of course you have to arrive early at the venue. Yeah, you arrive early at the venue, and then maintain the etiquette that is required of you at the waiting hall and also inside the interview room. Now, waiting room, the etiquette is such that you go into the room, and there will be a lady who will be sitting, a lady or whoever it is, a receptionist is sitting at the desk. You can report to her that your name is so and so, and you have come for the interview. So please inform who is sitting over there that you have already come for the interview. Okay, and they follow their instructions. They will probably ask you to maybe fill up a form or whatever the procedure of each company is. You do that, and then you go and sit. You go and sit in whatever place is allotted to you. And when you look around you, you will find there are some 50 or 60 others who are just like you, yeah, very neatly dressed and maybe catching the file. So you might get a little bit tensed. You might find getting a dry throat or something rumbling in your stomach. So what you do is that please carry water if possible. And if there will be water. Usually they keep water in the offices, so maybe you can have a glass of water. Just calm your jittery nerves, relax, take deep breaths, pray, and then when your name is called, go confidently. Get up confidently from your chair and walk up to the door. And remember, don't just barge into the door. Knock first, and then, please may I come in? When they say please may I come in, you enter the room, and then don't go and immediately go and sit on the chair. Wait for them. Wait for the instructions to sit on the chair. Okay, and they'll ask you, or you can ask them, please may I sit down. So they will say, okay, are you sure you can sit down? And what you do? Very in a dignified manner, you pull up the chair and you say, don't make any screeching sound. Okay, sit on the chair and say thank you. Remember to say thank you. Okay, and then when you in the most probably in the interview board, there will be some three or four or maybe five of them sitting. They will be all having expressionless face, and they will be having very serious face. Okay, now don't get upset by looking at all their faces. Just be very just keep a very pleasant face. Look all in their look all around the interviewers. I mean, look around means look in their eyes and answer in a dignified manner to them. Take time while answering. Don't speak too fast. Suppose if you do not know an answer, you say sorry. Don't beat around the bush. And they will be trying to provoke you. As I told you, different types of interviews are there, no? So they will be trying to provoke you or get you to criticize others. So please do not go into all that. Even if they provoke you, just don't get provoked. Be patient, keep your cool, keep a calm mind, and don't pass any negative comments. Suppose in case you have worked in a earlier firm, they might pass any negative comment about that particular firm. Remember never to speak negatively of the previous firms or any other firms. And then when the interview is finally over, and in the middle they will ask your documents, your certificates to be verified. So just hand over the certificates to them, and then you just come off. And then then you just when the interview is just, you just get up and say thank you, and just come out of the interview room. And remember, before leaving the room, don't just slam the door. Just slowly close the door and come out, and then say thank you to the receptionist who was sitting over there in the counter, and leave. And then after that, what you need to do, the third step is that the follow-up step. Now the follow-up step is, you can send always a mail or maybe a thanking letter to the firm, to the company, thanking them for calling you for the interview, for giving you the opportunity. And then sit quietly and sit patiently for the letter to come. And suppose in case you find that there has been no communication from them after maybe a month or whatever it is, maybe you can make a call to the receptionist, and you can ask her or him that is, you had come for an interview and you have not got any information regarding that. So you just called for that, so maybe you will get the answer like that. And then this is the all that you need to do. And then another thing is that you can also recap on the mistakes that you did during the interview, and maybe improvise on yourself for the next interview. Okay, so these are the all things that you have to remember to ensure success in an interview. Okay, and now next, which I would like to speak about is that the online or the Skype interview, which is becoming very common these days. An online Skype interview is done so that it saves a lot of time, and most probably the company head will be abroad and you will be in India, and conducting interviews is much more easier through online and Skype. Now remember about online and Skype is that use a user word that is a professional. Okay, that sounds professional. Okay, next is that download the latest Skype version and be ready even before the time that is scheduled for your interview. Download it and be prepared in front of it, be seated in front of it, so that as soon as you get the connection with the interview, the interview can start on time. There should be no delay from your part. Okay, now you will be already deciding on the venue from where you'll be doing the interview. Most probably it'll be in your home, or maybe in your suppose if in your home, then you can see to it that the room is well lit. It's neat and tidy. And suppose in case you're in you're living with your family or maybe your roommates, you can tell them there is an interview scheduled at this time, and you do not want any sort of a disturbance or a noise during this interview time. Okay, and next is that see, it's the same procedure you have to follow for appearing for this interview also, the formal interview, the usual eye contact interview. The same dressing pattern has to be followed, the same body language has to be followed, the same eye contact also has to be followed. So you have to do everything in the same manner. Only thing you will be talking through online. And another thing is that remember when you do the Skype interview, do not get distracted by your own image. You have to you don't get distracted by your image. You focus on what the interviewer is asking and try to answer in the most appropriate and pleasant manner. Okay, so these are the tips of the interview. What is an interview, the different types of interview, how to perform well in an interview, and what is a Skype or the online interview. I hope this session was fruitful to you. Take care, guys. Bye.